Howdy folks. This week we're going to get to a couple of different things. First big thing is going to be working on the timing on the Travelall. Still haven't been able to sort that out. It's super advanced and that seems to be where it is happy, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll dig into that a little bit. I'm going to take it for its first public appearance at a Cars and Coffee down the street, which is actually pretty fun. And then I'm going to get into some smaller stuff with prepping a bunch of wood for the rear bed and pulling glass out of one of the spare doors to replace the pane that I broke about 2 weeks ago. So the first big thing to do is to swap out the sniper for the original car that came on this truck. All I've been doing is basically unhooking the sniper and sort of throwing it off to the side. Disconnecting all of the stuff would just take too long, and I just basically put it on a piece of cardboard and stuck it over on the side there, you can see, and it's been there ever since. Hooking up the new carb, I've done this I don't know how many times now, so it goes very quick, it's pretty fast. I did have to clean it a couple of weeks ago just to get it to work a little bit better, but it seems to be running fine. But there's nothing wrong with the carb at this point. The only thing I've been doing with that is adjusting the idle mixtures. I think just getting knocked around and stuff has messed that up. And then just hooking up the boat tank to the bumper here and getting the leads to the electric pump ready to go. So what follows here is a bit of trial and error to get the truck running and idling reliably. Since the last time I had put the carb on, I was having some issues there, and I wasn't sure if it was the carb or if it was the timing. And as we'll see later on, I'm pretty sure it was the timing with a little bit of the carb mixed in for good measure. So I had to basically fool with this for a while, and once it got up to temperature, it did want to idle reliably, which was good. Last night I put some marks on the timing marks down there. I actually marked this out a little bit better. I don't know if you can see it around the water neck, which is this metal thing here, and I just put a mark on the balancer on the flywheel. So I'm going to put the timing light on this thing and see if I can time this carb. I think I've mostly got it running or idling. I'm going to keep adjusting it a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. And then from here, it was basically just going back and forth, messing with the idle circuit and the mixture screws to try to get the engine to calm down. The idle's still very high, and I'm not entirely sure what's going on there. And then getting the mixture screws to work correctly. I'm trying to remember what the RPM is. The RPM is like, it might be 1100 or 1200, which seems high. I think it's supposed to be down somewhere near maybe 700 or 800. So this is taking a bit of time. And then getting out my timing gun and starting to look at the timing on this thing to try to figure out where it likes to be. What I found was that the timing was very, very advanced. I think it's at like 22 degrees, which is like way, way too advanced. But that's where it was happiest. Every time I tried to bring it back down, it wanted to die. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on here. This is my attempt to put the timing light on the actual marks. You really can't see anything because of the refresh rate of the camera. So I spent some time messing with this. And then, of all things, my timing light died. You can see here I'm trying to figure out what is going on with this thing. This is Harbor Freight. You know, I might have paid 30 bucks for it. So I had to run out and get another one. So just as this thing is up to temperature, my timing light stopped working. I wasn't getting any flashing out of this thing at all. So I'm not sure exactly what's going on. There's a little light on the side that lights up. I've got to figure out what that little light means. And then I'll start this thing back up and get it running. But it's idling, and it seems to be enjoying. When I get on the throttle, it doesn't want to bog out. So let me see if I can sort out the timing light first. The other thing that I'm noticing is that this thing is indicating that it is at like 20 degrees or maybe 15 degrees advanced timing. which seems like a lot. I don't know if you were able to see it before. That was cold. I'm not sure what it is at hot, so I'm going to try to figure that out next. Once I was back from Harbor Freight, I kept working on the timing to get things rolling. Basically, what I wound up doing was leaving it where it was happiest, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense from what I know about engines, the little that I know about engines, but if the engine's happy there and it wants to run there, I'm going to leave it there for now. But I've got to troubleshoot why the timing is advanced. Did the pulley move? Is there some weird thing happening? I'm not sure. this is the timing marks on the spare 345 that I've got. You can see it starts zeros here, and then it goes 10, and it goes 20, and this is 5. Mine is somewhere around 15. That's where the Travelall seems to be happy. It's like 3 tick marks back from what I am seeing. And interestingly, now I can't get it to start. I think I've flooded the carb. I'm going to throw the timing light on the Scout and see what the Scout likes. I mean, I know it's not going to be exactly the same. You know, all the engines are different and everything, but like, I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be 15. I think it's supposed to be somewhere between like 5 and 10 degrees. So let's take a look. So here's the timing on the Scout for comparison. You can see there I just froze it. It's at about 8 degrees, which is what I'm told, right on the money. And back at the starting issue again, you can hear I'm trying to get it started and running. I think I had brought it back down, but I eventually adjusted it back up again. I've been fooling with this thing for the better part of the afternoon, and I cannot get the right mixture together, or I cannot get the right timing on this thing. When I time this thing where it seems to be happy, it's at like 20 degrees, which seems ludicrous. And I don't know what the story is. I had it running really well earlier, and then I kept fooling with it, and I think I screwed up. So I'm going to try to put it back to where it was so I can at least drive it to Cars and Coffee tomorrow. And then I'll have to keep fooling with it tomorrow after that. I've got to figure out why the timing is so far advanced. And I think probably what I'll have to do is get the number 8 cylinder to top dead center and then go from there. Once I had gotten the timing to where the engine was mostly happy, I decided to take it for another spin around the block. This time I got it to run and it didn't stall once, which was really great. I can't tell you how good that feels to get it out and not have to, you know, continually goose the accelerator to keep it running at stoplights and things like that. You know, of course it's on a boat tank and it's not on the Sniper yet, but I was pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to play through this entire bit of me driving it because it just makes me happy to watch. when I got back, I parked it in the middle of the driveway so that I could address something that's been bugging me for ever since I got this truck, which was to adjust the passenger's door. The passenger's door has been sagging ever since I got the truck, and it doesn't close reliably. So I wanted to try to lift it up. So I put the jack underneath it, loosened up the bolts, mounting it to the A-pillar, and attempted to get it to work, and it really didn't work. The following morning, I took it down the street to Local Cars and Coffee, which was seriously maybe about a quarter mile down the street from my house. There's a big parking lot next to a restaurant, and I got out there at about 7 o'clock and parked right next to that really pretty Morgan over there on the left. The fellow that drove the Morgan was really nice. I drove up and asked him, "Hey man, can I park my junk next to your pretty car?" He said, "Of course." And the truck was a hit at the show. It's the only one that people have seen for a long time, and so there's all sorts of more modern, fancy cars that are shiny and new, and then there's my junk sitting there. I had a lot of people walk up to me and ask me if I drove it down there on the boat tank, and I just smiled and said, "Yep, I sure did." It was kind of cool too, because there were a bunch of red cars right next to me. There's that Volvo and this beautiful Chevy and this other Chevy, and then my truck, and then my buddy Bennett drove his Speedster down and parked next to me, and that was really pretty cool. That Morgan is absolutely gorgeous, and then there's this really cool Sprite that's set up for racing. I love that car. I've seen it a bunch of different places. This Austin Healey is gorgeous, and this is the first time I've seen this. I think it's a Dodge. Beautiful, beautiful green color. Never seen that before. And then a couple of newer cars, a Corvette and an Audi. And then at one point, Bennett had to take off and go home and get some work done. I just love the sound of an air-cooled Volkswagen. Just sounds really, really cool. And I love that car. It's a blast to drive in. I had the rest of the day to work on the truck, so I took off from Cars and Coffee at about 10 o'clock and drove back home. I just went parts picking and got a couple of things from a guy up in northern Maryland. First thing was a parts catalog, which looks like it's in pretty good shape. This is the parts catalog for my truck. It's got all of the different models that include the C-Series, and so this was a pretty simple thing to buy. So that'll come in handy. I got a pair of black visors, C-Series visors, and these are in fantastic shape. They're absolutely perfect. And now that my upholstery is black, these are going to actually match my truck a lot better. So I'll swap these in once I get them cleaned up. Clean gas pedal, just figured I'd grab one of these because I think mine is okay, but it would be nice to have. The one I got from the green truck was pretty messed up. A clean ashtray. I don't know if I'll need that or not, but it'd be nice to have. And then I got one full window, and then I got one full mirror from one of the doors. This I'm going to pass on to Tyler out in Frederick. He's looking for one of these for his Travelall, and I think I have enough parts to make about 90% of the other side for him. So I'm just going to get this for him. The other thing I got was one full door window set. This is for Tyler out in Frederick. He's got an aftermarket set that he doesn't like all that much, and so I grabbed this for him. I think I've got enough to make about 90% of the other one. I'm going to pull that out right now and put that together. I just cleaned these up with some soap and water and shined up the chrome, and I mean, I am psyched. These are a find. So I'm going to go put them in the truck right now and see how they look. So just to recap, here's what I have in here originally. These are like a tan color. I think I got these out of the green truck. Yeah, these came out of the green truck, and I mean, they're nice, they work and everything, but they're not the right color. I'm pretty happy with that. The only bummer is that this does not fit into the notch there, the factory notch. It's in there. This is actually a little bit longer than the other one, which is kind of interesting. That one does. I wonder if there's some way I can adjust it, but I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So, a couple of nice black sun visors that go with the seats. Back in the driveway, I wanted to stop and have a think about my carb. So I turned to my spare driver's rear door and started taking the glass out of it. If you recall in the last video, I had put some weather stripping in my door, and when I was trying to close it, I had slammed it and the glass broke. I've got the spare pane, which is really cool, so I started disassembling this door to get it out. And it's also to figure out how this glass comes out, because it's different than the front doors where you basically pull the glass out from the bottom. This glass obviously only comes out from the top. I've got most of the spare passenger door broken down. I was able to spring the clips. I've got the top section of the window out. What I've got to do now, from what I'm seeing here, is I've got to grind out, there's a bolt here and there's a bolt on the other side. There. And it's just small enough that I can't get my regular angle grinders in there, so I've got to use a small one. This one that I got, it's a pneumatic, but the problem is my pneumatic tank needs a one more fitting to basically be complete so I can fire that back up. So I'm sort of at a holding spot here. I can't do much more with this door until I get that done. And I want to get this window out, and I'm using this as my test bed to figure out how hard is it to get this window out so I can replace the one that's in the truck. So far, not easy. More on this later. One thing I'm looking at, which is really pretty impressive, is just how clean this door actually is. From what I've seen, a lot of them, they rust out on the bottom here. This is in really nice shape. This door is in fantastic shape, actually, for what it is and where it is. But I need that glass, so I'm going to get that glass out and try to clean it up. And then I'll put this door aside. So once I figured out that you have to take the channels and the other parts out to get this out, and then I had to bend the corners up of the sheet metal just a little bit so that the metal channels would clear the sheet metal. It came out really cleanly, and that made me very happy. Okay, so the window is finally out. The shorter of the two slides goes on the hinge side, and the part that curls behind is on the back part towards the outer skin of the window. So still don't know how to describe this. You can see there's a curved lip that goes down. That part goes to the inside of the door. This rounded section goes to the outside part. What I wound up having to do to get this thing out was to pull both of the strips out. And I'm going to clean these up and refelt them. Both of these had to come out of the side here. And I did that, let's see, before the window came out. The other thing that I wound up having to do was there are stapled pieces of felt along this chrome lip that goes all the way around, and you can see it goes all the way around here. I had to take these out in order to get the metal brackets at the bottoms of the windows out from beyond here. So I have no idea how I'm going to get new felt in here, if at all. But I know I'll have felt on the sides. So that was how that went. And just to be clear, these sections are held in with a clip up at the top and a screw down at the bottom. And what I was able to do to get the screws out was I just used my cutoff wheel and I cut a big fat channel in them and used a flathead screwdriver and you know, I let these soak overnight with PB Blaster and got them out. So I didn't have to destroy anything, which was really good. So these will get cleaned up at some point. So then I reassembled as much of the door as possible so I know where things go. Put all the bolts back where they belong and all that good stuff, just so this thing is as complete as possible. I've got a little cup with all of the other parts that I keep next to it. Then I busted out the wire wheel and cleaned up the metal brackets that hold the thing into the door in prep for paint. You can probably guess what's going to happen next. I shot it with some black and got it cleaned up so that it will be ready to put in the red truck when it's all cured and ready to go. This is all cleaned off and sprayed with Rust Stop now, so I'm going to let this sit out here and cure for 24 hours or so, and then we will move on to the next step. Let's take one good last look at this thing before it gets painted. You can see there's a little bit of water that has come in here from something above the window here, so I want to get this thing sealed up and painted. So I've got some marine grade paint. I'm going to get this thing out of here and get it coated up tonight. This was easy. I just used a brush and a roller, and this oil paint went on really quick. It soaked right into the wood, which was great. I want this to soak in as much as possible. Pulled out my spare 15-inch tire to see what the back spacing was on it, and when I did, I looked in the well and I realized there is water getting in here somehow, so I've got to figure out what's going on. I think it's probably the same thing on this window that's happening on this window, where I'm getting a little bit of water coming in. So I'm going to have to set a camera up or something during the next storm and try to figure out where the water is getting in around the seal here, which is kind of a bummer. But I'm going to I'll drill another hole here just to drain this thing out, because I think this one's on a high spot, and you can see there's sort of a crease right here. The hole needed to be in that crease because that's where the low spot is. It's kind of crazy why they wouldn't have done it that way. Then I flipped it over and did the other side. This piece of wood got 2 coats, and this stuff dries really fast. It's oil-based, so this was really short work. I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but the other thing that occurs to me is that this is probably where the water is coming in. I don't know where I'm going to get another window seal for these back windows. I'll have to ask around and see if anybody's got anything, but this right here, that's our culprit. So this is, I think, the only rubber besides the wing windows up front that I haven't replaced on this truck. So I figured that out. This wood has 2 coats, 2 full coats of this stuff. It's a Rust-Oleum wooden fiberglass above the waterline primer. It's an oil-based primer on a 3/4 slab of oak. So next to this is going to get some serious undercoating or something. I'm not entirely sure what that's going to be yet. One side will get undercoating, and I think I'm going to pull the trigger and buy, there's a rubber, it's basically a rubber flooring or pad that you can get off of Amazon, actually, that is just the right width for this. The trick is going to be knowing what adhesive to use that doesn't pull up in the heat or stink or, you know, whatever. I've got to figure out what I'm going to use for that. So thanks everybody for watching. As always, I've got merch available. Every dollar you spend there goes back into this truck, so I really appreciate it. Hit like and subscribe if you like what you see here, and I'll see you in a week or 2.